Namaste, and welcome to the Shaman and the
Mermaid.
I'm Michael, and this is
Katrina Marie.
just how we practice it. Excuse me. Welcome to our astrology report. This is for the new moon, which is happening Saturday, September 28th at about 12:26 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, if you're really that into that. That will be here on Saturday, and we're taking our report all the way through October 13th. However, we will also be talking about some longer term astrological forecasts into 2020. We'll get to that in a moment, but let's kick right off with our theme.
Yes, we know we're super kind of dorky, but that's part of it, so hold your judgments. Our theme this time is love yourself, share your heart, heal your soul. Again, love yourself, share your heart, heal your soul. And the reason we've chosen that is we have the new moon in Libra. And to me, whenever you're on a new moon, it's planting a seed for a whole cycle of that month. But this one is the new moon for the fall. It's the first new moon that takes us into the whole fall season. So this particular intention that you set at the new moon time for yourself is a powerful one to carry you all the way into that December 21st winter solstice. That'll be down there by the holiday time. So really kind of think about what the energy means to you at this time. Maybe after you've heard this astrology report or gathered some other information about new moon in Libra, you can come up with that intention for this whole big time that's coming up. So we said love yourself is the first part, and that's moon energy. Always. The moon is that inner reflection to ourselves, how we talk to ourselves. Sometimes we don't talk to ourselves so kindly. We really beat ourselves up and tell ourselves that we're not enough, or we're not worthy, or we're not lovable. And this moon in Libra is saying, Libra is ruled by Venus, which is the goddess of love. And she is asking us to be loving. This moon is loving. We picked love yourself because this particular moon is right in opposition to our wound, or the wounded healer, Chiron. Chiron is in Aries, and the moon is in Libra, so that makes them in opposition to each other, and they're looking at each other. So your inner self is looking at that deep-seated wound that you carry around, and this is a time to love yourself. Libra is saying share that heart energy too, because Libra is about self and other coming together. So part of how we can heal ourselves is to communicate what's weighing heavy on our heart, what is making us feel unworthy, or what is making that inner critic speak up. So we share our heart. And not only what's troubling us, that's not the only way we can share our heart, but we also reach out and help others so that they can heal and express what's on their heart. We can be a good friend through lending an ear or giving a hug. So that's another way that we can share our heart. So love yourself, share your heart, and heal your soul. And this is probably the bigger piece of the whole theme this particular time, because we're coming into a really intense time for looking at karmas, particularly some ancestral karmas as we come up towards the end of the month. That'll be more on the report next time, but as Michael alluded to, this particular astrological forecast will allude to things that will carry us through the end of the year and on into 2020. And one of those things is looking at our karmas, and a way that we can heal our soul is to address the negative karmas that are plaguing that soul. It's kind of like having a big wound in our soul, as well as a wound in this lifetime's experience, which is that Chiron or wounded healer energy. But we'll break all that down a little bit more. Again, the theme for this time is love yourself, share your heart, heal your soul. See, Dwarf factor times 108 here at Karma Yoga Center with the Shaman and the Mermaid.
Well, we need to come up with our own hand mantras.
Yeah.
Love yourself.
Love yourself.
Share your heart.
Share your heart.
And I did this for heal your soul.
Oh, heal your soul. Okay, good.
You
I
can
like
do that
it.
at home right now if you wish.
We'll practice it a couple more times throughout.
Don't worry, it'll come back. So, as Katrina talked about with our new moon kicking off the fall season in Libra, just as a little reminder, we had the equinox, fall equinox, back on September 23rd, just a couple days before. And so that sets the tone for our season of autumn. And the part that I'm going to focus on, and then after I do, I'm going to give it back to Katrina, is the heal your soul part. And there is and has been a lot of energy playing out astrologically. And another word for astrologically we could say is at the soul level or karmic level these past couple months and leading into next year, 2020. What are those energies as we see them externally in our astrology? Well, number one is the planet Saturn. What can you say about Saturn, just as a general...
That's my face. That's my Saturn face. It's kind of like being called into the principal's office and asked why you were not in class on Tuesday. And you're like, that's Saturn energy. It's like the principal.
Okay. So Saturn is the principal energy. It can represent authority. It both represents internal and external authority. Number one, how you relate to authority outside of you, what your duties and responsibilities are, how you show up with other people that have responsibility over you. And the other, and just as important, is how you relate to your own internal authority. How do you address your own karmas? How do you address your own dharma and your gifts? How do you show up and say, what's your determination to do the things you have to do in this lifetime? Saturn also has to do with family. It has to do with how you show up in your personal family and also in our soul tribe family. And it says, what are the rules and structures that we've set up there from this life and past lives? So in a moment we'll get to Saturn. The other there's three peeps we'll talk about. The second one is the south node of the moon. What's the name of the south node in yogic astrology?
K2. K2 is the south node in Vedic astrology or Jyotisha, and Rahu is the north node. And these are harder concepts for us to wrap our brain around, and we've attempted to try to explain these in some of our talks in the past, and we'll give it another go here. Be open-minded. It's an esoteric concept.
The south node is where eclipses happen, and so is the north node. Energetically, the south node for you as an individual, or me or her as an individual in your birth chart, is where your past lives show up, where your subconscious or your soul energy that's unresolved shows up. What does that mean? Well, the subconscious is what really drives the bus. It's like the iceberg idea that we get from psychology, where the tip of the iceberg is above the surface of the water, and that's like 1%. Below it, the other 99% is hanging out underneath the water, and that's what's really driving the situation. But the little ego part is that 1% above the water that says, I know what's going on, I'm in charge here, I know how to do things. And then when a little wave comes and the bottom of the iceberg moves, the tip of the iceberg goes, whoa! And that's the ego thinking it's in control and saying, I'm not. Does that work?
Yeah, that's
okay.
good. Yeah.
So wherever your south node is, it's where you have repeated patterns that you play out that are not healthy for you. There are repeated experiences that you may have, and that may play out through relationship or traumas or issues with money. It's where we have our struggles and challenges. However, within astrology, everything that's unbalanced contains the seed of balance within it. So your south node is also where you have hidden gifts. If you work through the karma, you can reveal your hidden gift and hidden things that you have come to this world to share with others. And that goes back to share your heart.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so part of how we can work through our karmas is talk therapy, or just even sharing with a friend and saying, this is going on, and I need to just have a sounding board and get it out. Because when you hear yourself talk, when you share your struggles, your conflicts, your troubles, you start to hear it almost like from another person other than from just your own self. You hear your own voice speaking, and then it can make it more tangible. It lands like concrete a little bit more than just holding it as this ambiguous, uncertain, scary energy inside. So sharing your heart is helping to heal those karmas.
That's good. So it's both sharing your gift and also sharing what's wounded.
Right.
So Saturn and the South Node are together. That's my Kaipacha.
Yeah, that's a good Kaipacha. Kaipacha's our great friend and astrology teacher that we follow, and he's a goofball. Also does some nice dorky videos too, if you want to check him out, the New Paradigm Astrology.
His name's right here.
And we recommend that you see him as well.
So there's Saturn and the South Node together in the sky. They're in the sign of Capricorn, which is Saturn's home. So Saturn is most empowered in this sign, and Saturn has been there for the past year and a half, almost 2 years, and will continue to be there for another 6, 7, 8 months, and then it'll cruise into Aquarius. So when Saturn is in Capricorn on top of the South Node, this is a huge check-in. The teacher, the authority, the one that says, are you doing what's right, is looking at your past lives, your karmas, what you need to heal this lifetime, and what gifts that you are meant to bring forward in that healing, and said, have you been doing this? Saturn has been sitting together on the South Node all summer. All summer.
So it could feel like it's been a giant spanking all summer, as you kind of, if you go back to the principal's office and you're sitting there and you're hearing, not only did you skip class on Tuesday, but it looks like you're failing all your classes, and I've got a note from your Spanish teacher saying that you used some explicitives in Spanish towards her and she understood them all. You're in big trouble in the hot seat. That could be what it feels like if you haven't been addressing those situations. Now take that same scenario and you're in the principal's office and he points all these things out to you and says, what are you going to do about it? And you say, well, I've already written the apology to the Spanish teacher in Spanish with nice words this time, and I will take the punishment for missing class and I won't do it again, and etc. You start to identify and reconcile some of the negative actions. Remember, karma doesn't mean bad all the time. You can have good karma and you can have challenging karmas too. I don't like to say bad, but bad karma, I guess I'll say it.
Things that need to be balanced.
Things that need to be balanced, right. So when we look at our karmas, also look at all the wonderful things that you've done. And that can be part of sharing too. Like you go in and look at how you've cleaned some things up, or you did some good deeds, or you're volunteering a lot, you're helping with the refugee organization, you're gardening more than you've ever done, and you're eating organically, and you're recycling for real, not fake recycling. All those good karma actions. But also you're looking at, I've got these patterns, as Michael says, that you want to take a look at. Why does this keep coming up? Why do I keep doing this over and over again? And then that self-awareness or self-realization that there's some pattern or behavior or issues that keep cropping up, and then you address them. And maybe that's part of that heart share, is ask your friends. They have a lot of ideas of how you could rectify some of those patterns and behaviors, but nobody wants to be the one to say to you, I think if you would quit complaining all the time, maybe your daughter-in-law would invite you over more often. But every time you go to her house, you point out what's wrong, or you fuss about this, or you play the martyr, and then she says, I don't really want your mom to come over anymore because it's challenging. Well, your outside friends can see that behavior, but they don't want to come up to you and say, quit being a biddy every time you go over to your daughter-in-law's house. So sharing what's weighing heavy on your heart, sharing these patterns and karmas, is an invitation to your friends to offer that advice to you. And then don't be defensive when they tell you. You gotta be open-minded and take it with, you know, a grain of salt, because they might just pour it on thick. But whatever they're saying, there's a truth in there somewhere. And then you can extract that truth and apply it to your wound, because most likely these karmas that keep repeating themselves are related to that inner wound as well. They're mixed and mingled. Our karmas and our Chiron energy is mixed and mingled for sure.
Mm-hmm. And the reason we're bringing these all together, because as a recap, the moon and sun are here in Libra.
Oh, I thought we were doing our...
Oh, right. Well, love yourself, share your heart, heal your soul. Oh, good. We brought it back. So the love yourself part is the sun and the moon together. The sun is your heart energy. The moon is your emotional intelligence or your awareness. Opposite of Chiron, your wound. And then right above them all, Saturn and the South Node are hanging out in Capricorn, saying the rule maker, the karmic check-in around your karmas that you have unresolved. And Saturn has been hanging out there for a couple months. And after Saturday, Saturn's going to pass by the South Node, and now it's heading towards Pluto.
Pluto represents your soul. So the principle is moving towards your soul. It's been sitting on your past patterns and karmas that perhaps have been running you to the ground. And so once it checks in with those, as he said, it's going to move towards the soul. And remember from last report, Saturn's now direct. And it's approaching Pluto, who's been retrograde, but goes direct on...
October 2nd.
So coming up. Pluto's going to go direct. So you've got these forward motion planets that are dealing with discipline and right way and soul stuff, taking that forward march slow. They're slow moving planets, but they are moving forward.
Okay, so let's bring this both into you as an individual, and then this one we're going to take it out, boom, to the whole planet. Watch this one, peeps. So Saturn is checking in around rules, authority, karma. It's really wanting to make sure that things are in right way. It's the elder and the Native American good path, red road idea that says we want to be on the path of truth, of an integrity, of right way with spirit, with Mother Nature. And so if you're thinking, I don't like Saturn, Saturn's mean, Saturn's not trying to just be mean. Saturn wants us to have a healthy relationship with spirit and with each other. And if we're not, it's going to correct us. Pluto is the soul energy of both you as an individual, but it's the collective soul of all of us on this planet Earth. And so now that Saturn's looked at all of our past life karmas and what we need to clean up on the South Node, it's heading to the soul and says, okay, it's showtime. We're doing this for real. It's just not the fakey surface thing. And Pluto and Saturn have a dance that takes 33 to 38 years, meaning once every 33 to 38 years, they come together in the sky. Last time they were together was 1982. 1982. And when that cycle started, it's just like the moon. That was a new moon cycle when they were together. When Saturn moved away, because Saturn moves much quicker than Pluto, they were in opposition to each other in 2001.
And we know what happened then.
2001, September 2001, August, September, that was their opposition. And now that was a full moon illumination of authority versus soul need to change. And now Saturn's come back around, and this is the end of the cycle. We're in the dark, balsamic, dark moon phase of this cycle where the last bits are being scraped up to look at. So whether or not you were alive in 1982 or not, or at 2001 or not, there's a big karmic play out on our planet for a cycle that, this one is the 38-year play out from 1982 to 2020. And they're coming together January 12th, 2020. This is going to be a start of a whole other sequence of things that go on all throughout 2020 up until November 2020, or election time. And this will include Saturn and Pluto and Jupiter in the South Node. And those energies have not all been together in the same sign for 4,000 years. That's a long time. Some people would say, and those people would be us, that this is the cycle of the patriarchy. The energy of, and by patriarchy it's not just the masculine, but it's the energy of oppression, of suppression, of war, of misuse of greed and economics, misuse of sexual energy and prostitution and slavery, and all these things fall under the misuse of that patriarchal energy. And they're coming home together in the sky as an external mirror for us to say, it's time to clean house.
We feel it. We've been feeling this shift. I mean, starting with all the energy that's come up from the last election, we can feel like all of our dirty laundry coming to the surface. You know, what we really have been doing, not only as a country, but as a global community as well. We see how we've been misusing our resources and using internet inappropriately, all kinds of, I mean, I could go on environmental to fossil fuels to sex trade, trafficking, and refugees and border controls and genocides. I mean, look at us. We're a mess, and we're intelligent. We're the intelligent ones on this planet, and we are not in right way. And so this big coming together of kind of like the four horsemen of South Node, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, and all of them together in that November 2020, which all astrologers are talking about at this time, is a day of reckoning for this misuse of our intellect, misuse of our power, the lack of use of our heart energy. You know, we haven't been using our hearts nearly to the capacity that they're capable of loving with compassion and tenderness and kindness. We're only using a smidge. We're quite selfish with our heart power. And, you know, it takes that young lady Greta to point this out to us, like, it's not enough what we're doing. And how can we say it is enough? So the first of these, I'm calling them the four horsemen, the first of these lineups is the South Node and Saturn coming together right now in this September report.
Right on the new moon.
Right on the new moon. And they'll pretty much stay together. I mean, they're going to pass forward and move together, but they're setting up and jockeying into position for this big 2020 showdown that's really asking us just to be in our right way. This is not to punish us. This is to clear us of our really wrong way. We've been in wrong way. We haven't been right with the earth. We haven't been right with each other. We're still struggling with this concept. We're still trying to build a wall. Some people are still trying to build a wall, and other people are trying to bring it down. You know, we're still trying to fight pollution with banning single-use plastic bottles, and then there's other people who are trying to drill into our national parks and forests for oil. So we're not there. We're so not there, and this is going to bring us there. This is going to make us get to it sooner. So that's on the collective, as the whole world is going to experience this. But for the individual, the same kind of movement and energy is happening. So take it into your own soul self to work on the alignment of clearing out your hypocrisies, clearing out your negative critical thinking, your judgmental behaviors towards others, your lack of acceptance and tolerance. These are the things that fall into that old way that is going to implode on us, and start to shift yourself into a more philanthropic approach to living on this planet, to the earth and to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that will help not only the collective, but yourself. So when you love yourself and share your heart, you'll those two pieces, the first two parts of the theme of love yourself and share your heart, will help to heal the soul and the collective soul at that too. When you get you better can help another. So get on yourself and help get yourself in alignment with what you know is right, attuning to that great spirit in the sky. And there's lots of little astrological aspects that'll be coming up, and we can just quickly run by them and give them a mention, because if you are adept with astrology, these will make sense. Things like Venus is going to square Pluto, so that's that loving energy is going to come to a square with your soul. Good time for check-in. That's on September 30th. Mercury is going to move into Scorpio. This is your communication and Scorpio's transformation. So you can use your communication for transforming some of these energies. That's going to happen on October 3rd. We mentioned Pluto going direct. That's October 2nd. That's a more direct line of your soul energy moving forward. Mars is going to move into Libra also on October 3rd. Mars is your warrior, your forward motion aggressor. And aggressor can have a negative connotation, but it's your assertiveness. Let's use that word. So you can assert yourself in the area of relationships, and for your relationship with yourself and relationship with others, to build those bonds, to make them stronger. That would be a very beautiful use of Mars moving into Libra, again, October 3rd. And then another big one that I want to mention is Sun squaring Saturn on October 7th. The Sun is the outward expression of ourselves, and we've already mentioned that Saturn is kind of the disciplinarian, or the rule maker, or rule keeper, you could say. And so just be mindful on that day, October 7th, and the days around it, that your outward expression, how you show up, how you represent, might come into a little bit of a challenge with the rules that you hold for yourself. And so just keep that in alignment. It's a great time to catch yourself around some of those karmic patterns and go, oh, here I am again, trying to steal the show, or trying to martyr myself into something, or guilt trip somebody into something. And you can catch yourself in those moments when you have awareness that this is potential for those clashes. So October 7th with the Sun and Saturn. Venus is also going to move into Scorpio on October 8th. So again, that love and compassion is going to move into the sign of transformation and merging. So another chance for more of that love yourself, and also to share your heart with others. And Venus is also going to be in opposition to the wound, and that's going to be on October 12th. So Venus opposes Chiron October 12th, and that's the loving energy of yourself, the compassionate, your values is another way to look at Venus. Your personal values is going to be in opposition or sitting across the table from that wound. It's a good time to put some loving, healing salve on your wound. Another time to that's towards the end of the astrological report we're talking about with this theme, as a great chance to love yourself, is put some tenderness and kindness and sweetness towards your own beautiful self at that time too. And then finally, we'll be back again on October 13th with a full moon in Aries, and we'll talk about what that means to step into that powerful, assertive energy of Aries at the full moon time. Do you have anything else to say?
Yes. If you're in Denver and you want to continue with our Astrology 101 series, we will be talking about Scorpio energy, past life karmas, ancestral karmas, the Day of the Dead, Samhain, Halloween, Diwali, and the new moon in Scorpio, which will be on October 27th. That'll be our workshop from 3 to 5 p.m. October 27th. That's a Sunday. We'll be covering that death and karmic energy and what it means for you.
And ancestral karmas. That's
Ancestral.
a big piece. That's around Day of the Dead, All Souls, All Saints Day, Hallows Eve, Halloween, as Michael mentioned, there's a lot of energy. The veil is very thin at that time. That'd be a great workshop, and it falls on Diwali, our workshop, which is the Indian holiday, high holiday, one of their highest holidays for celebrating overcoming the darkness with the light. And it's your own light kind of shines brighter, and I think it's a great time to celebrate the victories of working through some of those karmic energies that we carry with us.
All right, see you at the workshop, and then retreat, Manitou Springs, coming up the day after Thanksgiving, November 29th, 30th, and December 1st, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Check out the link here, and we'll see you next time.
Namaste.
Namaste.